Hey!
Happy Motivational Monday! Woo! We're trying something new over here. We have a lot of book ideas, like more than a year's worth. So we're going to do a little Monday book review situation.
Yeah. Taking it out of the MomSter, just to kind of, so we can talk a little bit more about the book. And then it's just not randomly put in there.
When we have our topics, it'll be like, hey, how's it going? Here's a little weekly Winning Wednesday update and our topics. And then these books will be just about the books.
Yeah.
So, our first book on this beautiful Monday.
This beautiful Monday in Wisconsin in April. April Fool's Day, snowing.
April Fool's. I didn't even realize that until my friend's mom messaged me, and on Snapchat it was something like, what April Fool's joke is this? And I was like, oh.
Well, so many people thought it was a joke, is what I got.
Oh, a joke that forecast?
Well, that we were in a winter weather advisory.
The forecast said Wednesday was going to be snow.
Yes.
Because I was like, happy spring break.
Today and tomorrow, and then snow Wednesday. Yeah. Well, here we are.
So our first book, we listened to it.
You can see that. We don't have the actual book. We listened to it on Audible.
But it is Soundtracks by Jon Acuff. And actually, I love this book. I've listened to this book already before. And he has a teenager one that he wrote with his daughters, which I listened to.
That's cute. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I have a little list for Brooklyn, and I'm debating back and forth on whether I have her read them or we read them together or how it's going to go. And I'm debating what age we start together. Yeah, I think because then we'll have that time.
And you can have discussion. And then, that'll be good bonding time. I love when Sawyer and I read together.
Yeah, so I got to decide what age, because they're in high school when they wrote the book. But I really like it. You should listen to it and tell me what you think.
Okay.
It's on, how did I listen to it? I think on Hoopla. So the library apps give you, different free ways to listen. So I think it was Hoopla that I listened to it, but it was really good. So, the book Soundtracks is all about, deleting negative soundtracks in your brain. He actually says, retire your old broken soundtracks, replace them with new soundtracks, and then repeat until they're as automatic as the negative ones were.
Yeah, I really liked this book, and I am the biggest overthinker in the world. And it talks a lot. I mean, it's your soundtracks, your overthinking. So I did resonate a lot. So the first part of the book talks about memories and the soundtracks of your memories. And they said 60% of memories change, but your confidence does not. So that was kind of just they did studies where his one example was 9/11. What were you doing at that moment when you found out about the towers going down? And they said 60% of the people that they asked, it changed a few years later. But they were so confident that that's where they were at that time that, they went back to their writing and was this is my handwriting. So how am I saying this? It was crazy to me. And I think that's true. And, I kind of feel it when I'm talking to people at times, So that was my one big takeaway right away in the book. And then flashbulb memories is another thing right away, which is a degree to which the memory of the event.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly how he was talking about it.
In the beginning of the book, he talks about your memories and how your brain kind of works, which I think helped me understand it.
It gives you a perspective on where he's coming from for the rest of the book. And then, I don't know, he throws some jokes in there, gives some examples on vacations that he had ruined because of his overthinking from weeks prior. So you really feel you're relatable with him.
Yeah.
And it's a shorter book. It's only a 5-hour listen. So, I mean...
And I was laughing. I was actually laughing out loud at some of his jokes and some of the things that happened. But then, so then the retire, replace, repeat, overthinking just gets in your way. of everything you do.
Yeah.
And I really, really relate with that. I'm the person that will say something to like a person, and then I'm walking away from that person. I'm like, why'd I say that? And I just like beat myself up so bad that come next time I see them, I don't even want to talk to them because I already have it in my head that I'm going to mess up and say something I shouldn't say, even though it really wasn't that bad.
Yeah, the first time I listened to this book, I like for weeks could not stop thinking about like all this stuff that he said about the overthinking. And it really like changes your brain and kind of the way that you think about overthinking. I also like, so normally I'm like I listen to girl podcasts, I listen to books that girls have on Audible. Like I really don't listen to that much men. So the fact that he's like a man talking about all the overthinking stuff, I really liked that. There's this girl that I follow on Instagram, and her husband has really bad anxiety and she doesn't have anxiety. So it's like almost the opposite than I feel like the typical, because she's like, I've never had anxiety, I don't know. So like women give her advice to help him, and then like he gives, I really like this like man perspective on overthinking, because I feel like it's kind of like a woman thing, the overthinking stuff.
Yeah, I guess, that just put a thought in my head. Like, that's how I would think. Like, to me, men don't think. They don't have, like, an overload of things going on in their head like I do. Like, I use that as an excuse a lot of why my mind is so nuts, because I overthink everything. I mean, I can't even make decisions. Like, I am the definition of overthinking.
I knew this book needed to be early on our list because it really like changed a lot in my brain for me the first time I read it. And then when I read I think this might be the third time I read this book, but I like each time get different takeaways. And actually in a couple like bullet points from now, I had like a totally aha moment that I didn't have the last couple times I read it. So if you do buy the book, and like I'd suggest reading it even more than once. But after,
I definitely thought that I would read it again. Because, I definitely beat myself up a lot.
You do. Like texting and stuff.
You do. Listening to this book, knowing that Tanisha has listened to it before, I could hear her voice while I was listening, because she does live her life, I feel, differently. And I think a lot of things you may have taken away from the book and how you say things.
Well, we're going to do the 30-day challenge. So there is a 30-day challenge in the book. We're going to do it. We're going to post our good morning one together on Instagram, and then I'm going to post my good night one on my TikTok stories. So I'm like super excited to do that, because my husband and I were like holding each other accountable, and we didn't really do the full challenge last time. So I'm excited to do like the full 30 days.
Yeah, we'll hold each other accountable. Yeah. And I printed it, so.
And so after the like retire, replace, repeat part, he says about your soundtracks, like, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it kind? And I love that, because I think like sometimes when I'm getting down on myself, would I say this to my kids? Would I say this to my friends? See, look, it doesn't.
Yeah, I was like, what is that? I know. Like, are you live?
No, like, so watch. See, I don't know. And I don't know how to delete these thumbs up and thumbs down in the YouTube video. Okay,
That's
guys?
funny. That's funny.
But, I like to think, like, would I say this to my kids? Would I want my kids saying this to themselves? And would I say this to, like, my best friend?
Yeah. So that was, like, a big thing that they talked about, too. So, like, your loudest soundtrack, the 3 questions that you would ask yourself. And is it true? My biggest thing was like crazy how many lies you make up in your head. And then those are the lies that you're telling yourself constantly that are holding you back. Like, I can't lose weight. Is that true? No, you can lose weight. Is it helpful? Like, they did a study, just how valuable it would be for you to stop listening to your broken soundtrack and using failure to motivate. He's talked a lot about like his failure, using that to motivate him. And then, is it kind? That's what you're saying about, like, would you say it to your kids? Would you say it to your friends? And I liked that a lot. And half the things I would never say. The things I say to myself in my head, I would never say to a friend.
Yeah.
That really resonated with me. And kindness matters, even with your thoughts.
I knew this book was going to be so good for you.
Yeah.
The next thing that I had was the bigger the overpromise, the like stronger you believe it. So with your like broken soundtracks, the bad things that you say in your head, the bigger the like promise is to like guarantee this is like your one quick fix. And like with the weight loss thing, like you kind of, people look for that, like what's the one thing I can do, and it's like, no, it's a combination of like sleep and stress and working out and your water and your food. Like food's a big one, but like you need all those things. And so it's kind of the same way with overthinking, and then that like transitions into the dial part. So I literally love this book so much. But he talks about like your broken soundtracks. You're not just gonna have like, it's not just an on-off switch. It's like a dial, and you can go a couple days without not having them, and then get them back, and how to take care of it. They can sneak in.
Yeah, it's the literal analogy of a soundtrack. I love that.
Yeah.
And he talked a lot about like how you can like avoid listening to certain soundtracks and like certain things you can kind of do to dial it down. So anything that kind of like centers you, calms you. Like he had some examples of, he took up running, building Lego sets, which is not something I would, that would stress me out.
I was thinking when he was talking about the Lego sets, because my friend one year got me and my husband shoes.
Like Legos.
Yeah, so she got me and my husband shoes and the kids Legos, and then me and my husband put all the Lego sets together, and she's like, okay, well next year for Christmas I'll just get you and Josh the Lego sets.
Yeah. Legos would stress me out.
We love Legos. But yeah, so it's different for everyone, and you just need to like trial and error it. In the book he gives 50 different ways to like turn down your dial. But a big, like Josh is super into like petting the dog. Like my kid's super into petting the cat. Like,
yeah, it just centers you, calms you down.
Yeah, and not to use it. So like basically, if you don't like running, then that's not your thing. But if you do like running, then do it. So it's like, can always be different. But another like bigger takeaway was broken soundtracks lead to more inaction than action, because a lot of these is hard to tell kind of like if it's a lie, if it's helpful. Like you're kind of like gaslighting your own self in your brain, you know?
Yeah, I wrote down to like ideas die. What did I write? I forgot now. But that was like a big ideas die in early death with a lot of negative soundtracks. Like you were talking yourself out of so many things, and if you would just do it, it could have been the best idea in the whole wide world. But you doubted yourself, and it never happened.
Yeah, and then he talks about like borrowing soundtracks from other people, which a lot of different, like, you know, people, affirmations, mantras, there's a lot of different words for like the soundtracks. But he like talks to different people. A lot of successful people like have these things. That's what I've found out through these books too, because I've been on like this book journey, this self-help growth journey for like a couple years now. And a lot of these books, like the people do really have stuff that they say to themselves on the regular to like keep their brain in check. And he talks about too, like your brain goes towards the negative.
Well, not to go back to hustle, believe, receive, but like the I am statements. Like it's like the same concept. I mean, it's just all in your brain.
Yeah. And so then the next thing is like, how do you decide like, what do you want to win at this week? He says. So then it's like, what soundtrack is going to encourage me? So that's kind of like when you're making up your own. And I feel like it's easier to make up your own too, like after the challenge. So I'm excited to see like what the challenge does for us. Another thing was the like negative soundtracks will say stuff like never, forever, nothing, like those types of things. And I say too, like stuff's not always concrete. Like, do you notice when I kind of say stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I try to really believe it.
You kick me in the ass like every time I say something negative.
I try to really
every time.
But then yeah, I mean at the end it talks about so this was like a new takeaway from my real life. So he talks about like he discouraged his friend because he had the like thoughts like expect that the bad is going to happen but then like hope for the good to happen, which I mean I have quite a few friends that like kind of live by that. They're like, yeah, we're prepared for the worst but we'll just hope for the best, when really you should just be filling your brain with the best, because like you need 3 positives to subtract a negative and your brain's always going to come up with a negative. You don't need to add those. You need to add 3 positive for every 1 negative. So he was like changing his soundtracks, and he said like some broken soundtracks you need more than one more than one good one to replace it with. So he replaced the one with curiosity beats criticism and predict a positive future were like the ones that he changed. And it's like true, you know? Sometimes people say like off the wall stuff and really like that's not on you. That's like they need a mirror. What do you say? What do you say about self-reflection?
Self-reflection time. All the time. So many times I say that. I mean, if they take something a certain way, like self-reflection, why? Why are you making that person feel that way?
No, you said something about yourself this weekend.
Oh, probably.
You get in the car and you're like, so this is how my Easter went, self-reflection. I'm like, dang.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm big on that. I don't know. Like, right?
Yeah. So I really like took that away, like, because sometimes when people say off the wall stuff to me, like I'll just be like, oh, what? Like I would take it really personally.
Like, what do you mean off the wall?
Off the wall, like to me, off the wall is like I'm like, oh, my dad died of a heart attack. I'm gonna go to the gym all the time. And they'll be like, well, you could just die in a car accident. You could just die from this, that, or the other. And I'm like, yeah, but
so you're saying like when they say it, like
stuff like that, like I need to not take that. That's their soundtrack, not mine.
I get what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I read through the book this time, I was like, wow, there's a lot of times I do take what people say, like, you know, the negative, and it is like a dream crusher, but I'm not living like that anymore.
No, and you're doing a good job.
Thank you. Trying so hard.
I'm gonna try. I'm on this train. I'm not doing good, but
you've been doing better though.
Hopeful that I will change my soundtrack, so I am nicer to myself. I think that's like the biggest thing. Like your soundtracks are like my soundtracks, my negative, are just beating me up every day and holding me back from so much.
Yeah. Like I said to you at the gym the other week, you like forgot your shoes or something. Remember?
Yeah, I call myself bad names.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, nay,
yeah.
not happening.
I would say like,
unless you just stop doing around me, like I'm not gonna do that to Tanisha anymore. No,
I mean, when we're together quite often, you know.
Yeah.
I just feel like, yeah, like half of these things I would never say to anyone else. So why do I keep doing it to myself?
Yeah.
And this book just really gave me a realization of how bad I do that to myself.
This book he has had other books since this book, and I have not read them yet. But this book is like that emoji with the mind blown. The first time you read this book, literally, you're gonna laugh. You might tear up a little bit. I don't know. It's all the emotions, but it's the emoji with the mind blown symbol, because you really are like, dang, A, I'm not the only one. B, I can work on this. Like, C, it's not forever that my brain is gonna be like this. You know?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I really liked it too.
Any last final thoughts?
No, I mean, we'll continue to do our the anthem, right? Yeah. That's what it's called. So we'll do that morning and night.
And we'll post about it.
Are we going to do it together at the gym?
Yeah.
Okay.
In that mirror right there. Are you going to be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then if people are like, what's going on? We can just spread the news. Yeah. Like, listen to our podcast episode. This book is so great. Okay, we love you.
Love you.
We'll talk to you Wednesday. Bye.